In the history of media and politics, left-leaning media bias has always been called into question and tested through many different approaches. Tim Grosclose and Jeffrey Milieu explain that media bias can be difficult to prove as researchers would need to make subjective calls about what constitutes bias, whether regarding the coverage or non-coverage of issues, also known as gatekeeping bias, the attention given to one side of a political debate versus the other within a news story, also known as statement bias, or the tone and balance of a story, also known as coverage bias. In the political atmosphere today, in 2018, I believe that there is a left-leaning political bias in all forms of media, particularly in the United States. This is largely due to the fact that journalists, by and large, tend to be liberal. When passing on observations to the public, it can be very hard to disassociate one's own partisan or biased views from this observation. Therefore, left-leaning agenda setting is quite common in media, whether intentional or unintentional. This can be very instrumental in affecting the way that people formulate their opinions and ultimately vote. Andrew McIntyre states that American media outlets have an overwhelming left bias, with a vast majority of news outlets producing a left slant. An example of left media bias is seen in the case of former U.S. Senator Ben Campbell. Campbell announced that he was leaving the Democratic Party to become a Republican in 1995. In an interview 4 years later, Campbell explains that before he switched parties, his media coverage was very favorable, but after switching, he claims that he was treated badly by the media. He said that after becoming Republican, he was never covered in the same light as when he was a Democrat. His explanation for the shift in media coverage is a liberal bias that leads media to cover Democrats favorably and Republicans harshly. A key concern regarding media bias is whether voters are sufficiently informed and educated to realize any bias present. A left-leaning media bias also serves as a heuristic for people in the form of endorsement. When a known celebrity or organization endorses a political party or holds a particular opinion on a political issue, this can be a mental shortcut for people who are not informed on that particular issue. For example, many people may have decided how they feel about gun control because of the media coverage given to the March for Our Lives demonstration. This featured celebrities such as Miley Cyrus, Jennifer Hudson, and Demi Lovato. But the people watching may have never been informed on the other side's perspective, and therefore are not completely informed on this issue. Brendan Nyhan also makes the argument that the center has no monopoly on truth, and we should not ask the media to follow it slavishly. Democracy works best when the press is independent, not narrowly centrist. Ultimately, although I do think a biased media is problematic, I think that expecting people to relay their observations of the world in a centrist view rather than their own is undemocratic and goes against freedom of expression.